Hello students, welcome to the lecture on psychological aspects of physical education, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Discuss the importance of sports psychology, explain the role of psychology in sport, define the types and techniques of motivation, discuss the developmental characteristics at different stages of growth, explain the adolescent problems and its management, understand the sports and performance anxiety. Let's start with the concept of sports psychology. We can define psychology as the study of the human mind, emotions and behavior. Sports psychology is the study of how psychology influences sports, athletic performance, exercise and physical activity. The American Psychological Association (APA) defines sports psychology as the study of the psychological and mental factors that influence and are influenced by participation and performance in sport, exercise and physical activity, and the application of the knowledge gained through this study to everyday settings. Some of the mental and psychological factors that affect and are affected by participation in sports are anger, stress, anxiety, nervousness, fear and other emotions. Some positive factors are positive thinking, motivation, mental toughness, imagery, relaxation, visualization, self-confidence and belief-empowering emotions, awareness goal setting that helps an individual or team performance beneficially. Triggers correct motor responses. Using pre-shot routines and including them in practice makes them part of our shot or swing. This helps brain send the correct motor message to the muscles when one is on the course or court. Lowers heart rate. If one is losing a big match or game, our heart rate may rise in response to the stress hormones our brain releases. Sports psychology includes breathing practice, visualization, imagery and music as tools to help calm players. Provide structure. One will be more proactive than reactive during games if we follow a set pattern between points and plays. Reduces stress. A common phenomenon in sports occurs when players lose to lesser opponents based on their own mistakes. Players joke when they miss easy shots they regularly make in practice. Sports psychology helps players deal with fear by preparing them to deal with choking.
Playing sports and how they impact you. Just as a library is necessary for the mental health of a person, so is a playground for the physical health. Playing sports, indoor or outdoor, is important for the mental as well as physical development of an individual, and every sport has its own unique advantages. Let's look at a few sports and how they impact us. 1. Cricket. There are many benefits on playing cricket. Cricket helps in enhancing hand-eye coordination. When you play cricket, you get fit by running between wickets, running up to bowl, and running after the ball to field it. When you play cricket, you will develop stamina because cricket games can last for a very long time. 2. Football. Football players require a great level of stamina. Among various factors, concentration is the most important thing. Even a tiny distraction can make you lose the game. Thus, players can increase their concentration spans with this game. Further, football works very well to develop your leg muscles, namely the shins and thighs. Legs, being the largest muscles of the body, are the most crucial. They enhance muscle growth across the body by releasing testosterone and growth hormones. 3. Hockey. Hockey is a fast-paced sport that improves its players' pace, agility and lower body strength. Playing hockey is a fun and effective way of burning off calories with its fast pace requiring short bursts of sprint energy, along with long-term stamina over the course of a match. The sustained energy and holistic muscular strength required in a hockey match help develop the body's cardiovascular system, therefore improve your breathing by pumping more oxygen around the body. Hockey is one sport that works on both your legs as well as upper body at the same time. Playing hockey is a great way of developing your body's leg muscles, including the hamstring, hips and calves. It also improves the endurance of shoulder muscles, triceps and forearms. Hockey relies on good coordination between the eyes and the hands and improves the reflexes and reaction times of its players. 4. Swimming. Swimming works your whole body, improving cardiovascular conditioning, muscle strength, endurance, posture and flexibility all at the same time. Your cardiovascular system in particular benefits because swimming improves your body's use of oxygen without overworking your heart. As you become fitter and are able to swim longer, your resting heart rate and respiratory rate will be reduced, making blood flow to the heart and lungs more efficient. If you're looking to lose weight, swimming is just the ticket. Chess. Chess is now known to be an imaginative and strategic game. People find playing chess relaxing, and it also helps them to think analytically. It improves the focus and concentration of one's mind. Chess teaches a person to analyze different situations and think 1,000 times before taking a step, as not always the first decision is the right one. As chess requires one to remember various positions and strategies, this helps in improved memory and increased concentration. Sports are the most natural way to stay fit, since playing a sport never seems like an effort, but only seems fun.
Let's now discuss the role of psychology in sports. Sports performance is determined by a combination of physiological factors, technical skill, tactical insight, and state of mind. All 4 factors are critical to peak performance. Yet, it is this aspect of sports performance which has traditionally been paid the least attention in preparation for competition. Hence, in a world where many athletes are physically, technically, and tactically increasingly similar, it is the mind which offers perhaps the greatest scope for a competitive advantage. The specialized field of sports psychology has developed rapidly in recent years. The importance of a sports psychologist as an integral member of the coaching and healthcare team is widely recognized. Sports psychologists can teach skills to help athletes enhance their learning process and motor skills, cope with competitive pressures, fine-tune the level of awareness needed for optimal performance, and stay focused amid the many distractions of team travel and in the competitive environment. The medical staff and psychosomatic disorders. The health professional often plays a major role in supporting the emotional health of athletes. An athlete's psychological stresses may be manifested as somatic complaints such as sleep disturbances, irritability, fatigue, gastrointestinal disturbances, muscle tension, or even injury. Preparing for competition. Simple psychological skills to help the athlete manage the competitive performance environment include learning relaxation skills. Example, progressive relaxation, slow, controlled, deep abdominal breathing, or autogenic training. Mastering all of the attention styles, types of concentration. Imagery, both visualization and kinesthetic. Appropriate self-talk and developing a pre-competition mental routine to be employed immediately prior to competition on game day. The injured athlete, Athletes have a strong sense of body awareness and take great pride in their capabilities of their bodies. Thus, injuries can be psychologically as well as physically devastating. The ability to train and compete well involves enormous ego. Injured athletes commonly experience at least three emotional responses: isolation, frustration, and disturbances of mood. The injury forces the athlete to become separated from teammates and coaches. Other team members may provide little support, and in fact, they may shun their injured teammate to avoid reminders of their own potential frailty. The athlete becomes frustrated because he or she perceives the loss of months of training and skills mastery, although there are many instances where athletes have used the recovery period to master mental and other physical skills to return successfully to competition. Mood disturbances are common. The athlete may be temporarily depressed or become upset by minor annoyances. Now we will study in detail the types and techniques of motivation. Self-determination theory. The self-determination theory addresses the degree to which the motivation towards activities is deemed to be internal, that is, degree of self-involvement, and how varying levels of this self-determination influence the selection of actions that render desired motivational outcomes. The innate psychological needs of autonomy, the belief that one is the origin and regulator of his or her actions, competence, and relatedness underpins self-determined motivation. On the basis of the theoretical tenets of self-determination theory, these different self-regulations are hypothesized to form a continuum ranging from high to low levels of self-determination and can be broadly categorized as intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and a motivation. Self-regulations. At the self-determined apex of the continuum is intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation refers to highly autonomous behaviors engaged in for the feelings of fun, pleasure, and satisfaction that stem from participation in an activity. Although previous research has studied the determinants and consequences of intrinsic motivation from a one-dimensional approach, recent research has adopted a multi-dimensional perspective. Positioned on the self-determination continuum from low to high levels of inherent self-determination, extrinsic motivation comprises external regulation, interjected regulation, identified regulation, and integrated regulation. Hierarchical model of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Incorporating the fundamental tenets of self-determination theory, Valorant has recently proposed a hierarchical model of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. This model contends that motivation operates at three levels, namely the global or personality, contextual or life domain, and situational or state levels. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation are both adaptable and change in response to specific situations and life occurrences. While not easy to define, intrinsic motivation can be described as an internal drive to perform an activity, while extrinsic motivation is ascribed to an external motivating source that drives action. It is postulated that people attribute their behavior either to an internal or external source. Intrinsic motivation correlates positively to when people attribute their motivation to internal sources, while extrinsic motivation is correlated to belief in an external source for their behavior. The motivation for both is on a continuum that ranges from a high to low level of determination and that operates on three distinct levels: global, one's overall general motivation; contextual, in a specific domain or field such as education or sports; and situational, the here and now. At each of these levels, individuals can have different motivation levels, both intrinsic and extrinsic. Now moving on to our next topic, developmental characteristics at different stages of growth. The purpose of the Tenny's Physical Education Student Growth Measures PESGM is to measure student learning over the span of a school year in physical education. The assessments are aligned with national and state standards. The measurement of student growth should provide feedback to physical education, teachers, classroom teachers, administrators, parents and policy makers on the status of physical education programs as well as student growth. Assumptions were made about assessing student growth in physical education. Assessment should not be new to physical education teachers. Assessment should be an ongoing part of the teaching learning process. Both formative and summative assessment should be an integral part of a quality physical education program. Student growth is best assessed by determining the extent to which students improve through the teaching or learning process. Assessments using rubrics aligned with the state physical education standards were created. The student achievement levels are measured before instruction and again after instruction to demonstrate student growth through the teaching learning process. PESGM measures student learning. Effective teaching as measured through the Teacher Evaluation Assessment Measure, TEAM, or a similar district assessment is designed to measure a teacher's pedagogical skills as well as to guide him or her in how to improve as a teacher. The PESGM is designed to measure student learning, the product of effective teaching. The results of the pre-test should guide the teacher in planning, teaching the content the students need to learn. Sample grades can represent the school population. In the PESGM, every grade level does not have to be assessed. Grades 2 and 5 were selected as the targets of assessment based on the developmental nature of these elementary school age groups. Assessments can be varied and allow for teacher decision making. The assessments were created allowing teachers some decision making on what to test. Grade 2 students will be assessed using a cognitive affective written test. Teachers select one of 3 tests and 2 psychomotor assessments. A sample within a grade can adequately represent psychomotor student growth. The cognitive affective assessment will be administered to all second grade students. The aerobic capacity fitness assessment or the cognitive affective assessment will be administered to all students in grades 5. The assessments are designed specifically for grades 2 and 5 and in their current format would be developmentally and instructionally inappropriate for other grades. Teachers assigned to more than one school should only assess the students in grades 2 and 5 from his or her home school. Test taking varies by content. Cognitive affective assessments will be conducted as a pre-test in the first 2 weeks of school and a post-test the last 6 weeks of school. Fitness testing should be administered as a pre-test in early October and post-test in April. Teachers conduct and score the assessments. Teachers are expected to score their own students' psychomotor performance. Psychomotor testing is designed to measure motor skill competence. Cognitive, affective, and physical fitness scores should be based on improvement across time. An aggregate score is determined by grade level to determine the percentage of students who improve from pre-test to post-test. Teachers can and will follow testing protocol. While modifications in teachings are critical to students' success, modifications in testing protocol will create invalid data. Teach before, direct during, and evaluate after. Prior to the pre-test, teachers should only teach and practice the protocol. Adolescence. You must have heard this word before. Let's now discuss its meaning and problems in detail. Adolescence, ages 11 to 21. The transition between childhood and adulthood is one of the most dynamic periods of human development. Adolescence is characterized by dramatic physical, cognitive, social, and emotional changes. These changes, along with adolescents' growing independence, search for identity, concern with appearance, need for peer acceptance, and active lifestyle, can significantly affect their physical activity behaviors. Adolescents benefit from participating in physical activity. Physical activity can give adolescents a feeling of accomplishment, reduce the risk of certain diseases, example, coronary heart disease, hypertension, colon cancer, and diabetes mellitus, if adolescents continue to be active during adulthood. Promote mental health. The period of adolescence is divided into 3 stages. Early adolescence, ages 11 to 14, includes pubertal and cognitive changes. Middle adolescence, ages 15 to 17, is a time of increased independence and experimentation. During late adolescence, ages 18 to 21, adolescents make important personal and vocational decisions. Healthy lifestyles. By participating in physical activity, example biking, hiking, playing basketball, with their adolescents, parents can emphasize the importance of regular physical activity and show their adolescents that physical activity can be fun. Parents' encouragement to be physically active may increase the adolescent's activity level. Teachers also play an important role in promoting physical activity in adolescence. Physical education should be provided at school every day and enjoyable activities should be offered. Building partnerships. Partnerships among health professionals, families, and communities are essential for ensuring that families receive guidance on physical activity. Health professionals need to give adolescents and parents the opportunity to discuss physical activity issues and concerns and need to identify and contact community resources to help parents promote physical activity in their adolescents. Strengths and issues and concerns. Health professionals should emphasize the physical activity strengths of the adolescent, family, and community and address any physical activity issues and concerns. Physical activity strengths during adolescence. Adolescent participates in physical activity, develops a positive attitude towards physical activity, enjoys physical activity, is aware of and has opportunities to participate in physical activity, wants to improve motor skills, feels competent when participating in physical activity, takes responsibility for own health, understands the importance of physical activity, has positive role models for physical activity. Family encourages the adolescent to participate in physical activity, provides opportunities for the adolescent to participate in physical activity, ensures that the adolescent uses appropriate safety equipment, example, helmet, wrist guards, elbow and knee pads during physical activity, participates in physical activity with the adolescent, provides a positive role model by participating in physical activity. Community promotes physical activity, provides opportunities for adolescents to participate in physical activity, maintains policies, example, preservation of green space, and provides environmental support, example, well-maintained sidewalks, bicycle racks outside public facilities that promote physical activity. Provide safe environments for indoor and outdoor physical activity. Example, walking and biking paths, playgrounds, parks, recreation centers. Provide support for families of adolescents with special health care needs. Physical activity issues and concerns during adolescence. Adolescent has health problems, experiences motor skill or developmental delays, lacks opportunities to participate in physical activity, lacks friends or siblings to be physically active with, does not enjoy physical activity, does not feel competent when participating in physical activity, is embarrassed about appearance or lack of coordination, is shy or fearful of physical activity, has had unsuccessful or unpleasant experiences with physical activity, is more interested in sedentary behaviors, example, watching television and videotapes, playing computer games. Family does not encourage the adolescent to participate in physical activity, does not advocate for physical education in schools, does not provide positive role model by participating in physical activity, does not participate in physical activity with the adolescent, has health problems that affect the amount of time spent with the adolescent, has a work schedule or other commitments that reduce the amount of time spent with the adolescent, lacks space or equipment for physical activity. Community lacks programs that promote physical activity in adolescents, lacks safe environments for indoor and outdoor physical activity, example, walking and biking paths, playgrounds, parks, recreation centers, lacks policies, example, preservation of green space, and does not provide environmental support, example, well-maintained sidewalks, bicycle racks outside public facilities that promote physical activity, does not provide support for families of adolescents with special health care needs. The last topic for this lecture is sports and performance anxiety. Sports and performance anxiety often go hand in hand. Have we ever choked during an important sporting event or felt our nerves get in the way of our athletic performance? While many athletes become pumped up during competition, when the rush of adrenaline is interrupted as anxiety and negative thoughts begin to swirl, it can have devastating effects on our ability to perform. Before we learn how to manage the symptoms of anxiety during competitions, it is important to understand the relationship between anxiety and athletic performance. Sports psychology is a division of psychology aimed at better preparing the mind of an athlete for competition. Performance anxiety in sports, sometimes referred to as choking, is described as a decrease in athletic performance due to too much perceived stress. Perceived stress often increases in athletes on game day because 1. They have an audience, and 2. They have extremely high expectations of their success. Relationship between anxiety and athletic performance. The coordinated movement required by athletic events becomes increasingly difficult when our body is in a tense state. A certain level of physical arousal is helpful and prepares us for competition. But when the physical symptoms of anxiety are too great, they may seriously interfere with our ability to compete. Factors influence the effect of anxiety on athletic performance. Some types of athletes are more prone to feeling the effects of anxiety on performance. Amateur athletes are more likely than seasoned professionals to experience anxiety that interferes with their ability to perform in competition. This makes sense due to their relative lack of experience, both in competition and in managing arousal. Athletes who participate in individual sports have also been found to experience more anxiety than those who play team sports. Reduce performance anxiety before the event. Recognize that pre-race jitters are normal. Rather than fight, the nervous energy we feel. Do not misinterpret it by thinking that it is fear. Prepare both mentally and physically. Arrive at the event with plenty of time so we are not rushed, which only increases our stress. Visualize. Allow a few minutes to practice visualization. During this time, we mentally rehearse showing ourselves doing everything right. Focus on the task at hand rather than the outcome. Stay present in the moment and avoid thinking too far into the event or thinking about the finish. Force a smile. If we are struggling with negative thoughts and cannot break out of the cycle, simply force ourselves to smile, even if only for a few seconds. Race like we do not care about the outcome. If we find we caught up in negative thoughts and find that we suddenly expect the worst, it will be impossible to perform at our peak. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. Sports psychology is the study of how psychology influences sports, athletic performance, exercise, and physical activity. A common phenomenon in sports occurs when players lose to lesser opponents based on their own mistakes. Players choke when they miss easy shots they regularly make in practice. Sports psychology helps players deal with fear by preparing them to deal with choking. The health professional often plays a major role in supporting the emotional health of athletes. The self-determination theory addresses the degree to which the motivation toward activities is deemed to be internal, that is, degree of self-involvement, and how varying levels of this self-determination influence the selection of actions that render desired motivational outcomes. Teachers also play an important role in promoting physical activity in adolescence. Athletes who participate in individual sports have also been found to experience more anxiety than those who play team sports.